Hello everyone, welcome back to the second lesson in the photography side of Woodpecker workshops. If you're new here, my name is Ollie. I am a photographer and this is Woodpecker Workshops, a platform where me and my friend Charlie, a creative writer, teach free lessons and workshops in creative writing and photography. The current theme is woodland folklore. This is the second photography lesson out of two, so also the last one. In previous lessons, we have covered how to create your own folklore character. That was Charlie's lesson. And in my previous lesson, we looked at an example, which was my example, of what it looks like to photograph a folklore character, a brand new folklore story. So you guys can go back and watch them if you haven't already, and then come meet us back here. Welcome to my outdoor studio. It's a bit colder than it was last time I was here. It's a little bit later in the year, but I like being outside. It's nice. It's not too cold. So today, what will we look at? Well, we're going to look at different styles that we can work in. I'm going to give you a few technical top tips for when you're out on a shoot, out in the field. And we're going to look at some other photographers and how their style affects the overall feeling and, I guess, vibe of a project. Now, remember that the task at hand that I'm setting is 3 to 5 images that tell the story of your own folklore character, one that you have created with Charlie. Okay, first, we need to pick an aesthetic, a style. Now, we're not going too complicated with it. I'm thinking black and white, colourful, fine art, whatever you can think of, you can do it. But it's important that we pick a style and we stick with it throughout all 3 to 5 images. A body of work is always stronger when there's a consistent style running throughout. With each style comes advantages and disadvantages, I suppose. So if you're choosing colour, then we want to look for bright colours, obviously. And if we're choosing black and white, then we want to look for strong line and strong textures. Possibly if we're choosing fine art, then we need to look for the beauty in the everyday. Don't think too much about it. Usually when I'm thinking about the kind of style that I want to work in for a project, it kind of comes automatically to mind the way I picture it beforehand. It's either in colour, or it's either in black and white, or it's a documentary style, or, you know, it will come to you, I'm sure, if you haven't already. Maybe at the end of this lesson, it definitely will. Okay, now for the hard bit, I suppose, which is photographing your character, which right now only exists on paper because you've just come up with it. And remember, we're not photographing the character itself, we're photographing aspects of its story, which when combined create a body of work, which is the character. So there's two kind of aspects that we need to focus on. Now, we've only got 3 to 5 images to play with, so it's important that we cover the important things. I would say these are description and story. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about that in a second. So think about from Charlie's lesson, from his first lesson. What is your character? What does it look like? What colour is it? What's its skin like? Ask all these questions about it, stuff that we can like actually photograph. So using Charlie's example of an onlooker, I'm not sure if you remember, brilliant example, absolutely loved it. We know it's created from a tree stump. So what I would do first is have an image of tree bark. Nice, I'm picturing black and white here. The whole frame is just the texture of tree bark. One aspect of it already that we've covered, what it looks like, what it feels like. We also know that the tree stump would be very low to the ground, and the way that Charlie drew it had the eye in the middle of the stump. And I imagine a lot of the time just looking up, directly up, and you're seeing all these other trees that are pointing towards the sky. Now there's 2 aspects already, so we've got 2 out of the minimum of 3. I also know that when they die, they become a chunk of wood. And when this wood is burnt, it creates a green flame. So for the final image, I would have a flaming chunk of wood. And because I've chosen to have it in black and white, the green aspect doesn't matter. Now these 3 images, standalone, won't mean a lot. But once we know what an onlooker is, and we know its story, these images are far more powerful. And it tells the story, visually. Now I focused here on description, so that's the skin of an onlooker, what it looks like, what it feels like. I focused on the perspective. So this is part of the story. I focused on what the onlooker might see. And I focused on a bit of the story, which is when they are burnt, they create a green flame. It becomes a visual window into the story, rather than just being writing. We can actually start seeing it and showing other people how you might see your character. Okay, a little bit of top tips. Some top tips when you're out on the shoot. I wouldn't worry about camera. You have, that's not a problem. Use your phone, use a little point and shoot. Use film. Little tip for iPhone users, actually, if you're shooting black and white, set the filter to black and white before you actually take the pictures. So you're not distracted by colours and you're looking at the image before you take it as a black and white image rather than as a colour image. It will change the way that you shoot black and white. Also, slow it down. There's no rush to these images, there's no decisive moment. Think about how each aspect of your frame is affecting the story, is affecting the composition. This is a great time to really slow it down and look at the frame while you're taking it and think, is this branch coming in, is it adding to it or is it becoming a distraction? Now go out in nice light. Light in photography is very complicated, rather scientific, but what we do know is that good light can make pretty mundane things interesting and bad light can ruin a good photo. So look for bright days, look for direct sunlight, always good for black and white, creates high contrast. For shooting in colour, sunrise and sunset, the classic golden hours, but even don't put the camera away once the sun's gone down, because this creates different purples and pinks, different kind of light, interesting colours, adds a lot to an image. And like my little example of an onlooker, shoot in the perspective of your character. Put yourself in your character's shoes, if they wear shoes, but you know what I mean. If they're little tiny pixie right down to the ground, shoot up. If they're massive and the size of a tree, then look down on things. Climb a tree, but be careful. I did that for one of mine. I climbed a tree to look down, pretending I was an owl on a branch. Don't shoot from human height, unless it's human sized, and shoot from human height. This is how everyone sees every day from this level. Well, not sat down, but stood up. I suppose sat down too. But look from a different perspective. And remember, it's only 3 to 5 images. Think about how it works linear as well. Seriesing is something that I'm going to get into in a future lesson. So think about how it runs from 1, 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And also 3 to 5, it's a general guide. So if you've got 6 that you really love and you don't want to get rid of one, then have 6. If you've got 2 that you think tells the story effectively, you just can't find that extra image, you think it will ruin the whole 3 set, then just use 2. I won't be too mad. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is how you want your images to feel. Think about, is there a theme that runs in your short story, in the character's story? For mine, had quite a gothic, horror-esque aesthetic to it. Think about the theme that's yours. Is it horror? Is it fun and playful? Is it mysterious? We can photograph in ways to reflect certain moods, and a lot of photographers use this. Okay, so this first one is a favourite project of mine. This is from Sleep Creek by an amazing photographer called Paulina Gilnuff. Listen to this description, this quote from the website that the book is. Think about what you imagine the photographs to look like. The town is quiet, the streets are empty, but if you take the road into the backwoods, you'll start to hear some noises. A branch snaps and there are voices, laughing. A few lights are on in one house and a fire burns behind a bar. And you relax your eyes and you can see there are people all around. Now, these are what the images look like. So, they're quite unsettling and slightly uncomfortable. So the themes of this project, they're rather complicated and intense. But what we can understand is that Paulina has photographed in black and white, and we know it's for a reason, and she's focused on unsettling subjects for a reason as well. All we need to know about it, really, is that you can tell that the style, themes throughout, gives off this unsettling feeling, which adds to the overall story and subject. Another example of a kind of unsettling horror-esque vibe of the project is Stephen Gale's Night Procession. These are all images captured on a motion-activated trail camera, but I'll let the photos speak for themselves. Have a look through some of these. Different example, Mimi Plum's Megalith Still, which is a meditation on the sublime within the untamed American landscape. She presents, it's very beautiful, it's a deep connection to nature, focusing on horses as the key subject. Reflects on how they make you feel, especially compared to some of the previous images that we just looked at. It's always useful to have a feeling and the kind of vibe of a project before you shoot. This way, we have something to aim for. And remember, this is all about folklore, which kind of in essence is your connection to the nature that's around you. You can take it in any way that you want. Put yourselves in the character's shoes. Imagine you are them. You are coming up with the story yourself. In your photos, in your images, I'm looking for imagination. Use your local nature that surrounds you to inspire you. Go out to the park, go to your garden, go to a woodland, and then just think about your project, think about your character. It will inspire you. Think about little details in their story, think about the big details, but the little ones too. They're all important. Remember, it's a collective of images that create this story. Think about how they pair to the writing that you're going to make with Charlie's. And remember, we're here to help. Just message us on Instagram if you're stuck at all, or if I've confused you in this lesson at all. Just message, and either me or Charlie will get back to you and try and help you. This is a workshop after all, so we are here to help, and we can't wait to see what you guys make. Not sure what the deadline is yet, but from this video you've got at least 2 weeks, and then you can start sending your work in. Kind of details on how you do that will be up on our Instagram shortly. But once we start to have a look through, and then we'll announce the winner. National Geographic 6-month subscription, and also a couple of little bits and bobs. One of them is a really good book, basically taught me everything I know about photography. So yeah, thanks guys, thanks for listening. If you haven't watched Charlie's second lesson, go do that now. Yeah, cheers guys, have fun.